Chapter 421. Hunting, 2. Peter was silent for a while. How about the others on the back? Leave them be. The magic ants are not very strong and they can use it for practice, Samuel replied. He brought these soldiers here so that they could practice anyway. But he would not lead them directly because he didn't have such capability. It would be better to leave such a tiring job to Major General Leon. The higher-ranked magic beasts were cleared up by Samuel, Peter, and Rhea. Well, Rhea basically just walked around. The protective rune circle around her was more than enough to kill any magic beasts that dared to get close to her. She didn't even bat an eyelid when watching these magic ants coming over and sent themselves to their grave. Also, Rhea didn't actively attack these magic beasts. It was Samuel and Peter who were busy at the forefront to deal with these magic beasts. Does it not consume a lot of mana to maintain that protective rune circle? Peter asked when he saw Rhea was walking leisurely. Not really, Rhea replied. Her protective rune circle has been modified so that it would not consume mana at all when she used it. For Rhea, there was no problem maintaining for 24 hours a day with only consumption at the beginning. Of course, if she was under siege of magic beasts, she would have to replenish the mana and attack actively. But if it was only in the state of standby like this, the mana absorbed by the protective rune circle to maintain its form from the surrounding was more than enough to offset the consumption of the protective rune circle. Of course, Rhea had no intention of telling others about this kind of thing. Seeing how Rhea was able to kill so many magic ants so easily, Peter had to say that he was envious. If it was possible, he also wanted to be able to do this. Rhea chuckled and then they stopped in another intersection. The jade doll was already waiting there and waved its hand upwards as if calling for Rhea. This action looked really cute. Another jade doll was waiting on the side. It seemed as if the jade dolls have different personality with each other. Bending down, Rhea picked up the jade doll and listened to the report that it gave. The other one also gave report to her and Rhea put one of them away. She arched her eyebrows and chuckled. It seems that there are 2 routes there and both of them lead to the same place, the Queen's Chamber. Hearing this, Samuel and Peter were energetic. How about if I leave it to you to choose as you wish? Whoever can kill the magic ant queen the fastest will win, Rhea said. That's a great idea. Peter was instantly energetic and he looked at Samuel provocatively. Samuel, who liked to compete with others all the time. But seeing that Peter was already eager to go, he rubbed his forehead and looked at Rhea, who was giving a playful smile. All right, what's the reward? Well, I'll just give a set of rank 1 magic scroll, Rhea replied with a shrug. Does he think that she want to bleed a lot for this kind of playful competition that had no meaning? No way. It was already kind enough for her to give this out. Got it. Just rank 1 magic scrolls. Peter waved his hand and then grinned. You don't have to give me any reward. If I win, I want to challenge you, Samuel. Samuel sighed. All right, let's go. Swish. With that, Samuel immediately used his lightning mana to stimulate his legs and ran at the fastest speed to one of the tunnel. In just 1 second, only afterimages were left from where he stood. Peter was stunned and then he yelled, You cheater! Wait for me! Swoosh! Peter also urged his aura and charged to the other tunnel, rushing over as fast as possible. Rhea saw these two's action and was amused. Shall we go over slowly? She rubbed the jade doll's head and then sighed. If she knew that she treated this jade doll as a real doll, she should have designed hair on the surface. It would be softer and felt much better to touch. Well, forget it. Mo was staying with Sophia and the others. Even though Mo belonged to Rhea, but she couldn't really understand Mo's speech. Moreover, she only took him in because she wanted a mount in the first place and was not really interested to take care of an animal. So for the time being, she left Mo in Sophia's care. Rhea walked along the path that Samuel treaded. Along the way, she saw countless magic ants' corpse that had been dismembered. It should have been cut down by Samuel with his sword. Her pace was not that slow, but it couldn't be said to be fast either. After a few minutes, Rhea reached the end of the path and saw Samuel and Peter were fighting against a large magic ant. She arched her eyebrows. Rank for Magic Ant Queen? This queen advanced so quickly? Based on the size of the tunnels, this queen ant should have started to build this place for a long time. This meant that either the queen ant had been advancing quickly or it was actually already a high-ranked magic beast. This was a bit strange in Ria's opinion, because she was sure that the strong magic beast shouldn't have come out of the crack just yet. Or did she make some misjudgment about the cracks? While Ria was pondering in her mind, Samuel had already answered her doubts. This ant queen devoured the other ants to quickly advance just now. It should feel threatened by us, Samuel explained and jumped back. Well, Peter is enough to deal with it now. Ria saw Samuel keeping his distance and arched her eyebrows. Why did he come here then? Chapter 422. Hunting 3. The next moment, she saw Peter doubling in size and pummeled the magic ant queen. Blood and pieces of meat splattered all over. Ria. No wonder he kept his distance. Your fighting is always so dirty, Samuel complained. I'm a warrior. Warrior. Peter stressed out and then returned to his original size. He looked at his body that was covered in blood with a shrug. Well, I guess I do need a bath. The other two. That's for sure. Let's go back. Yes. I thought that this journey will be more exciting, but these ants are too weak, Peter complained. I'll be going again after this, Samuel said. You should join the others to clean up the rest of the magic ants. I'm sure that they should be agitated after receiving the signal from their queen just now. In the battle, a queen magic ant could call her worker and soldiers to fight for her. But because Samuel basically blocked the route, these magic ants couldn't come forward and was blocked midway. They had to either destroy the wall he made or made other tunnels. Whichever one it is, the soldiers and the others who came with them would be in for a long and hard battle. Ah, right? Peter grinned and then rubbed his hand together. He was already prepared to have another hardy battle. But the next moment he paused. Wait, you're not going to fight against these magic ants? No, I have other business. Samuel turned to look at Ria. Ria saw Samuel's look and nodded. She wanted to enter deeper into the crack and his presence is required. After all, she had paid for him to help her. All right then. Peter was disappointed. Wait, who came earlier to the queen ant's chamber? Ria asked. When she arrived, the two of them were already there, so she was not sure who was faster. Him. Peter pointed at Samuel and grumbled. I don't know what technique he used to make himself faster than me, who's a pure warrior. How could a magic warrior can be faster than a warrior normally? Samuel chuckled and didn't respond. In terms of pure physical strength, Samuel was indeed behind Peter. After all, he's a magic warrior and not a pure warrior. But if the two of them were to fight, it was not known who will win in the end because Samuel would definitely use his magic. For that reason, the battle between Samuel and Peter was really exciting to see. Come on, we're almost out. Yes. They regrouped with Major General Leon and talked about the few things that happened just now. Knowing that the magic ant queen has been killed, Major General Leon felt more relieved. This meant that they didn't have to worry about these magic ants increasing in number again. But, you want to go, Mr. Samuel? Major General Leon asked with doubts. He thought that they could clean up the nest together. There are other places I want to clean, Samuel replied calmly. This was not a secret, and if others wanted to follow him, he didn't care too much. Whether they could survive or not when they were facing countless magic beasts was another question, though. This, all right? He couldn't do anything about this. Ria came to Sophia and told the other party that she wanted to leave Mo in her care for the time being. She also gave a second-rank space storage scroll containing a lot of rank 3 magic beasts' corpses for Mo's meal. These are all Mo's food. You can take some for Melly if you want to, Ria said as she handed the bone that she had transformed to rank 2 space storage scroll. Sophia looked at the bone and then at Ria speechlessly. Your choice of materials is really unique. Ria. Couldn't be helped. There were some materials that were hard to find. For this, Ria felt helpless and couldn't really explain it. So she waved her hand and left with Samuel. The others looked at the two peoples departing back. Right now, they felt that they were really so far away from them. Come on, let's practice harder. Sophia clapped her hands with a smile. Stephen rolled his eyes at his sister. You said training, but who didn't know that your training mainly consists of cooking for Melly? At least it's still training. Tisk. Amelia looked at Ria and Samuel's departing back thoughtfully and turned to look at Sean. Do you think it's possible for Ria to be my sister-in-law? Sean nearly tripped on the rock when he heard that. He looked at his sister as if he was looking at an alien. Not to mention, there's also the age difference. I don't think the age difference is that big of a problem. Amelia rolled her eyes. Ria is at least half a year older than her, so she should be 23 years old. Her brother was only 28 years old, about to reach 29. It's not that old. Whatever. Sean waved his hand. Anyway, I don't think anyone will be interested in our old-fashioned older brother. Aside from those who want to target the Jones family behind us, no one will get close to him. Amelia looked at Sean speechlessly. It's precisely because she didn't need the power of the Jones family that I thought she could be interested in my brother. Not possible. What if it's true? Amelia was too lazy to argue with her brother about this matter. She just felt that Amelia and Samuel's back when walking together looked really good. If it's true, then I'll be responsible for your snack for 1 week, Sean said and then added. If it's wrong, it's the opposite. You have to supply my snack for 1 week. 1 month. 1 week is not long enough. You want to lose that badly? Don't you dare. Chapter 423. Departure. Being provoked by his sister, Sean sneered and said, Who said that I don't dare? Of course I dare. It's just some snacks. Though their snacks these days were made out of magic beast's meat, so it couldn't be said to be cheap. All of them were really expensive. Considering that the two of them barely earned enough contribution points and were still living with their parents, that might cost a lot. Hee. I'm waiting to see you lose. Amelia giggled and then ran back to Arnold's side. She wanted to ask him to help her hunt more magic ants. Sean looked at his sister speechlessly. You're the one who will lose. He didn't think that his brother will be interested in the opposite sex so easily. There were so many women in the business world back then. But even if he cooperated with them on some projects, he would not cross the lines. After all, he's so black-hearted that those women would be angered to death because of his profit mind. Sean could still remember the woman who nearly had a stroke because Samuel simply increased the profit for himself and her own share was reduced because she wanted to play some tricks and got close to him. TSK. But after thinking about it for a while, Sean walked towards Joan. This time Joan also came and he wanted to work together with her to hunt more magic ants. These magic ants couldn't be eaten, but their bodies could be sent to the research institute for research. As for why they couldn't be eaten, Samuel and Ria both said that some parts of them were corroding the little meat inside their body. It's not suitable for humans' consumption, but other animals could still eat them. As for Peter, he said that he had eaten them and ended up staying in the toilet for the entire day, so they better not repeat it. When Samuel and Ria heard Peter's words, the two of them were really speechless. This man really dared to eat anything. Ria's sighed. While the others were busy hunting the magic ant, Ria and Samuel hastened their pace and made their way out of the nest. Do you have any clear direction to where you want to go? Samuel asked. I don't know how deep the crack is, so you might want to keep a map. Don't worry, I won't be the scout, Ria replied and took out a few jade dolls. Samuel? He looked at the few jade dolls that Ria held and had the feeling that she was using almost all the jade that he gave to her in order to make these jade dolls. But considering that the jade dolls were really good and useful, it seemed to be a good investment. We're here. There was a crack entrance not far from the magic ant's nest. So the two have made their way inside and jumped down. The few magic beasts nearby were attracted by the moment they got close. The protective rune circle around Ria would kill them. It's really useful. I don't seem to have any use here, Samuel asked as he looked at the protective rune circle around Ria. Your use is later. Ria patted Samuel's back. For now, the small fries will be dealt with this protective rune circle. All right. Samuel also felt lazy to kill these lower-ranked magic beasts. And after the protective rune circle killed the magic beasts, Ria would toss their corpses into her world, letting it be her world's supplement of mana. No matter how small the meat is, it's still meat. As long as it was useful for her world, why can't she use it? Anyway, Rhea felt that it was good to let her world grow faster and bigger. The two of them walked with Samuel slightly behind. He didn't want to be hit by Rhea's protective rune circle accidentally. The power of that rune circle was a bit scary. Rhea saw Samuel's cautious action and chuckled. Do you know that Runemaster could modify their protective rune circle at all times? Really? Samuel asked back. Yes. Rhea raised her hand and lightly drew in the air. The runes that she drew instantly merged with the runes around her, and it was still as stable as ever, circling around her. Samuel saw this and his eyes showed amazement. He knew that Runemaster could make and modify their own protective rune circle, but he didn't know that they could modify it while they were walking. Of course, not all rune masters can do this, Rhea said as she looked at the runes in front of her. All right, you can get closer and it will not attack you unless you actively attack me. Hearing this, Samuel walked to Rhea's side without hesitation. You're not afraid that I'll harm you? Rhea was surprised by his decisiveness. If she had lied, then he would have gotten hurt when he got close to her. I trust you. Rhea blinked her eyes and looked at Samuel beside her and smiled faintly. I feel that it sounds so easy when you say it that way, but I know that it's not that way at all. Samuel didn't answer and simply looked at Rhea beside him. Are you afraid? Yes, I am. Rhea looked at the distance, not looking in Samuel's direction at all. I'm afraid that if I trust others when I'm not strong enough, I'll end up getting hurt. Because she knew very well that those people who had seen her ability only wanted to take advantage of her. In that world, she had seen humanity's ugliness very clearly. She didn't want to see it again. Some people simply couldn't stand being tested by others, and Rhea knew herself that she would only get hurt if she expected too much. Before knowing that you're a returnees and the world changed, I was prepared to live in seclusion. Chapter 424. Should I? Samuel pursed his lips. You don't have that plan anymore? Should I? The whole world is changing, and if I want to get stronger, the only way for me to do so is if I challenge these magic beasts head-on. Rhea pointed at the few magic beasts that had rushed over and got counterkilled by her protective rune circle. They seemed not to see the protective rune circle around Rhea and only knew that there were two creatures that they could target. Of course, the targeting is a complete failure. They were all dead without exception. Their corpses were thrown into Rhea's world to be turned into mana. You can still go by yourself if you want to, Samuel said. I know I can, Rhea said slowly and then showed a faint smile. But what's the fun in that? It's too lonely. In that world, she had traveled by herself and only stopped from time to collect some pieces of news. It was really lonely, but she didn't dare to trust others so easily. Samuel arched his eyebrows. I don't know what kind of people you have met in the past, but I can assure you that not everyone are like that. I know. Some people are really simple and really nice to get along with. Rhea smiled. Why did she like to stay with Amelia in the first place? It was because Amelia really looked like a child and behaved like one, which made Rhea relaxed around her. Because Rhea knew that whatever tricks that Amelia wanted to do or make, everything would be written on her face. She basically couldn't hide anything. So Rhea didn't need to worry too much when interacting with Amelia and could easily tease the other party. For this reason, the two of them honestly looked like a pair of sisters. Samuel smiled and then pointed at the protective rune circle around Rhea. Can you tell me more about this? Of course not. Rhea chuckled. If I tell you everything, how can I deal with my opponents in the future? Not even a little bit? Samuel asked again with a faint smile on his lips. Well, I can tell you the principle of a normal protective rune circle, but are you sure that you can understand? Try it. Okay. In this way, the two of them talked about many things while they were walking. The few magic beasts that rushed over were simply getting themselves killed and couldn't even bother the two of them. If not for the wrong background, people who saw them would think that they were dating instead of hunting magic beasts. The magic beasts around felt insulted being ignored so blatantly. But those who came over were killed instantly. So the world where only the magic beasts suffer was born. City A base. After Ria left that day and ignored Sierra, she was using this incident to take advantage of the sympathy of the people around her. With this method, she could pay off half of the initial debt that she had in the hospital. Sierra was really happy. Mr. Taylor heard about this and ignored his daughter. Anyway, the one who acted is his daughter and not him. Instead, he was thinking about what he should do to be able to get more contribution points. The work he has been doing was not satisfying. Rather than earning more contribution points, it was more appropriate to say that his contribution points were deducted again and again. This made Mr. Taylor very annoyed. But there was not much that he could do. So you're saying Ria is doing well here? Mr. Taylor heard the full version from his daughter at night and he frowned. Ria is also his daughter, but Mr. Taylor never cared that much about Ria. Because he didn't like his first wife that much anymore and her existence only reminded him of his first failed marriage. It was annoying. Because of that, Mr. Taylor refused to take care of Ria and only felt that she was nothing more than a burden. But after Sierra was detected to have kidney failure on both of the kidneys, Mr. Taylor had to look all around to find someone who could help his daughter. The doctor casually mentioned that sister might be a match. So Mr. Taylor secretly looked up for Ria's file and found a doctor to test whether it was a match or not. As if it was fate, it matched and his second wife couldn't wait to dug out Ria's kidney for her own daughter. Unfortunately, the schemes failed miserably. At the last moment before the earthquake, Mr. Taylor was also very busy with his work that he couldn't do anything else. For some reasons, many things in his work become a mess. He had to work overtime again and again to clean them up. And after the earthquake, it was even worse. Right now, Mr. Taylor was feeling a bit desperate. Yes. Sierra gritted her teeth, trying to sound normal. She's very jealous of Ria and hoped that everything in Ria's hand could be transferred to her hand. But at the same time, she knew very well that it's impossible. So she could only be jealous on the side. But next time, she should play some tricks. Where is she? Mr. Taylor asked. I don't know. Sierra had a blank look. After she provoked Ria in front of that supermarket, she was too busy making up the image of a pitiful girl in front of others. Because some people didn't really experience much bitterness after the earthquake bows, they directly came to City A base. Many of them still have kind heart. So they were willing to help Sierra a bit. Anyway, 1 or 2 contribution points were nothing for those who had lived here for a long time. But some others only watched Sierra played the set and said nothing. You're useless, Mr. Taylor scolded. Chapter 425. Sierra pursed her lips and ignored her father. She counted her contribution points and were heartbroken when it was automatically deducted right after she has some money. This meant that as long as she has some contribution points, it would continue to be deducted until she paid off her debt. Give me the contribution points. I can't. Why? It's automatically deducted. Mr. Taylor froze and then cursed again. In the end, the father and daughter broke up unhappily. They felt very bitter living in City A base as if everyone was going against them. Just when Mr. Taylor felt that things couldn't turn to the worst, he met with the person he least wanted to see aside from his daughter, Mrs. Thompson. The two people met during work break and their eyes when looking at each other was filled with contempt and hostility. Those who didn't know would think that these two people were mortal enemies instead of ex-husband and ex-wife. To think that the dignified Mr. Taylor will work hard in such a dirty place. I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing for such a bad person like you to be here, Mrs. Thompson said with contempt visible on her face. Mr. Taylor sneered. Do you think you're not the same? After our failed marriage, who didn't know that Mrs. Thompson married a rich young master and become the dignified lady in City A? The two of them had met each other after they separated in the past. Of course, the place where they met were only in the social banquets and so on, because this was the only place where it was possible for them to meet. Neither of the two were willing to see each other. So the only time for them to meet is when they encounter each other accidentally. Don't think that you can say anything you want. You're nothing more than a broke who couldn't even eat full meal. Mrs. Thompson raised her head proudly. She could see that Mr. Taylor's clothes were very dirty and this man had become thin. This was more than enough to see that he should not be living a good life. Mr. Taylor looked at Mrs. Thompson with a bad face. You think that you're that good either? You're nothing more than a poor old woman who only knew how to work in the dirty place like the construction site. You Eva. Eva. You Eva. The two of them started from slighting each other to cursing each other like the aunties in the market. Other people nearby just glanced at them and then ignored them. Some of them hoped to find some melon seeds or popcorn to eat while enjoying the scene, but it was already hard enough for them to fill their stomach. Who would bring these things? And listening to these two people cursing each other, they found out that these two people were actually ex-husband and ex-wife. It was quite something to end up as bitter enemies like this, though some people were not surprised. After all, either the woman or the man might have done something unforgivable for the other party. Thus the sweet relationship turned like this. In the end, the manager came and scolded the two of them. They were kicked out of the construction site for the day, and Mrs. Thompson directly found her husband. Afterwards, they beat up Mr. Taylor. It could be said that Mr. Taylor ended up very miserable in the hands of the two of them. And because he didn't have any contribution point, he didn't go to hospital but went back to his room and tended to his wounds simply. He felt very miserable and angry. The next day, they met again, and this time the fight escalated until both sides were bleeding, so they were sent to the jail to cool down. And this matter was reported to Mr. Jones. They're fighting on the street? Mr. Jones was speechless when he heard that. Samuel and Ria had already left City base for some time, and he hadn't heard anything from Major General Leon. He estimated that they were still busy cleaning up the nest. After all, no one knew how many magic beasts were inside. Yes, they're really troublesome, Mr. Jones sighed. Thinking that they were Ria's parents, Mr. Jones really didn't want them to stay in City base. But this was their first offense, and based on the rule, they would only be warned. About this matter, they're Miss Ria's parents. Just follow the rules. With her relationship with her parents, it's already good enough if she didn't kill them with her own hands, Mr. Jones said. Yes. Speaking about killing parents, Mr. Jones looked at his niece's case and sighed once again. Victoria killed her own mother and turned herself in. Based on the circumstance at that time where Victoria's mother brought a few people inside and planned to sell her daughter, it could be concluded that Victoria only acted in self-defense. But he planned to let her stay inside for a while, because he had to clean up these people who planned to buy women. These things should not happen in his base. Ria and Samuel had made their way deep into the crack. Samuel was looking at the video that he made along the way and looked at Ria. How did you remember the route so well? I'm a Runemaster, so I left some marks along the way, Ria replied and then looked at the camera. Don't forget to process the voice later. She didn't appear in front of the camera, but she also didn't want her voice to be recorded either. It would be troublesome for her if others were to hear her voice and so on. Don't worry, I don't turn on the voice recording and only the picture, Samuel said. Good. Given by how terrible the voice of some magic beasts are, I'm more worried the equipment will be damaged. Chapter 426. Deep into the crack. Ria smiled in amusement, especially when she remembered that some magic beasts did have weird noises. If these were recorded, she would pity those who were listening instead. I'm sure the manufacturer can make sure that the next equipment are tailor-made to make sure that it'll not be affected by it, Ria said with a grin. Samuel chuckled. I'll mention it to the researchers later. The two of them laughed when they thought that the researchers would have headache about this matter. After a while, they reached the area where Ria last had stopped, and she looked at the few magic beasts around her. These were all shadow creature, and they were all at rank 4, higher than the few she met before. The magic beast's rank is getting higher and higher. Samuel frowned when he saw this scene. If the magic beasts reached rank 6 or even 7, they would have to run away. Yes. Ria narrowed her eyes. I want to see where these magic beasts came from. And these shadow creatures? Are there lich down there? The lich was usually a human who had chosen to become an immortal through the power of the undead. Neither Ria or Samuel knew the details, but they knew that a lich could not be killed so easily. For this reason, it was really hard to deal with the Shadow Legion they brought out. They seemed to be scattered shadow creature, But there's no shadow creature that could rise so quickly without being nurtured by Lich, Samuel echoed. Swish. Slash. The protective rune circle around Rhea was still more than enough to kill these shadow creature as they failed to get close to Rhea and Samuel. Samuel was holding his sword, though. He was ready to attack when it was necessary. The two expressions also changed from relaxed to solemn. They knew that it was no longer the time for them to joke around. Samuel was still recording the route they passed by but would not record Rhea in the slightest bit. The battle with these shadow creature was also partially recorded as he aimed the camera to the route up front. But it was getting darker and darker. As the lighting in the crack was getting dimmer, neither Rhea or Samuel could see as clearly as before. But because the two of them were already rank 5, this much was not a problem. For Samuel, his own senses have been heightened. And for Rhea, she was using her formation magic. Eye of Sight. Rhea looked around and continued to walk forward. There were several intersections at the front, but Rhea chose one of them without hesitation. The Jade dolls were already sent forward to scout and sent picture and information to Rhea along the way. Samuel really felt that those Jade dolls were really convenient. Ordinary people would never be able to come here. The two of them didn't stop and Samuel was busy roasting some meat for him to eat along the way. After all, he had to maintain his combat strength, and for Magic Warrior, eating is one of the best methods to replenish their strength. As for Rhea, she didn't really need it and only eat a bit to replenish her stamina. Her protective rune circle has been added with mana gathering formation, so it could actually sustain itself for a long time. So after the initial mana that Rhea used to set up, she didn't really need to use any mana to maintain it anymore. This saves her a lot of mana. They have to reach rank 4 at the very least or they wouldn't even be able to see and withstand this temperature. Rhea replied in agreement. Samuel extended his hand and his eyes narrowed. It's below 0 degree. Indeed, this place was getting colder and colder, making it hard for ordinary people to survive. Magic warriors rank 4 and above had learned to use their aura to form a protective shield around them, which will allow them to travel in such extreme terrain. Magicians at rank 4 and above knew some magic spells that could protect them. Can your temperature talisman protect the magicians at this temperature? Samuel asked. Yes, but it'll consume more mana than usual. So in this case, it's better to use warm talisman, Rhea replied. In this way, you don't have to inject mana to maintain the temperature and you just have to activate it. That's a rank 1 talisman, right? Can it last long? In this temperature? No, at most a few hours. Samuel nodded. In other words, for those without ability, it was not impossible for them to come here but at the expense of using up a lot of money. Well, it has always been that way. If one was not strong enough, they would make up with other things that could be exchanged with money. Magic scrolls, magic tools, and others. And Rhea's magic scrolls could definitely be used that way in order to allow people to challenge the terrains and opponents they usually couldn't defeat. It's indeed auxiliary. Do you plan to bring others here? Rhea asked with suspicion. If Samuel were to bring other people here, it was estimated that they would not last long with their strength. She didn't think that it would be possible for them to survive for so long either unless they planned to splurge a lot of money. No. Before they reach rank 4, I better not, Samuel replied. He's not stupid. Bringing his friends here when they were not ready was simply putting their lives in danger. He could not do that. Rhea nodded in agreement when she heard that. When they became more powerful and could support them a bit, there would not be any problem bringing them along. Before she could speak again, they heard noise from the front and turned their head. Upon seeing the magic beast in front of them, their face changed. Be careful. Bang! Chapter 427. Deep into the crack, 2. Boom! Loud explosions sounded in the crack. The ground trembled and the rocks fell down one after another, crushing the other magic beasts on the ground. Rhea and Samuel had jumped out of the way as they looked at the magic beast in front of them, their expression solemn. There was a large mammoth in front of them. They should have expected that this magic beast will appear in front of them when they realize the dropping temperature. Magic mammoth, thick defense, strong attack power, has ice element, Rhea said slowly. This is a rank 5 magic mammoth. "I'll kill it," Samuel said, and the next moment, he had appeared next to the large mammoth. This mammoth was several meters high, and Samuel looked very small when standing right next to it. But he didn't pay attention to this and instead injected his mana into his sword. At some point of time, the sword in his hand had changed to his main sword, the sword that was connected to his soul. Boom! Lighting crackled as it transferred from Samuel's sword towards the magic mammoth in front of them. Hua! The mammoth roared loudly with its unique voice and then swung his long nose, the trunk, out towards Samuel, trying to blast him away. Swish! Samuel agilely avoided the attack from the magic mammoth, and his aura condensed around his body. He looked at the magic mammoth in front of him solemnly. The defense was really thick. Bang! At this moment, a light appeared from Rhea's side, blasting towards the magic mammoth. The rune's circle in front of her rotated as Rhea launched the magic attack towards the magic mammoth. Boom! With a large force, the magic mammoth slammed to the back, hitting the frozen wall behind him and formed a large crater. Thud! It fell down to the ground and then roared again. The defense is really high. Rhea pursed her lips. Facing this attack, the flying magic beast before was killed instantly. But facing the magic mammoth, it was only knocked back. This showed the difference in their defense between these magic beasts. Leave it to me. At this moment, the element that Samuel used was no longer the destructive lightning element. When he wanted to enhance his sword's cutting skill, what else would be more suitable than wind element? Swish! Slash! Boom! Thud! The sword slashed halfway through the magic mammoth's body, cutting up most of the neck. But it still didn't cut through the magic mammoth's neck completely. Samuel frowned when he saw this and he rubbed his sword. It seems that I'm also slacking off in my practice. It was rare for him to use his entire strength, but the result he obtained was lacking like this. This made Samuel feel that he was no longer as good as he used to be. Can you cut through a magic mammoth when you're at rank 5? Rhea asked as she walked towards the magic mammoth, planning to keep it in her world. I'll keep this first and then we'll divide the spoils later. Yes. Samuel rubbed his sword and then pursed his lips. My sword is not as strong as it used to be, though. He needed rare materials to upgrade his sword, and most of these materials didn't exist in the Green Planet. The only consolation was that there were some materials that he could use as substitute. But it was far from enough. The mana metal or from before? Rhea asked. It's still being studied in the laboratory, Samuel replied. It'll take time for them to produce result. Rhea nodded. If she were to use mana metal or to make her weapon, Rhea was sure that she could set up more powerful formation. This made her somewhat eager to try. But at the same time, she knew that the amount of mana metal or was not much. It would not be enough for her to build everything she wanted. Unless they found more valuable materials, it would take a long time for her to be able to make proper weapon. I see. And it seems that we won't be able to go back for a long time. Rhea followed Samuel's gaze and looked at the large number of magic mammoth coming towards them. Seeing the mana fluctuation around these magic mammoths were of rank 5, her expression turned solemn. Are you ready? Ah! Samuel smirked. Fighting in a live and death battle. Isn't this the best way to train? Even though it would put their own lives in danger, but only in this situation would their real potential be stimulated. Right now, they never had the chance to truly fight with their all against proper opponent. These magic mammoth could be said to come at the right time. Indeed. Rhea took a deep breath and her hand moved once again, forming 2 different runes at the same time. Swish! Bang! Samuel dashed forward. His sword swung quickly and the wind enhancement made to his sword increased the attack power. He focused his attention to the magic mammoth, determined to only attack the weak point of the magic mammoth. Because this is the only way would it be possible for him to defeat it. Knocking them up would be useless. Swish! Boom! Large light like cannon shoot from Rhea's 2 sides, rushing towards the magic mammoth. One was filled with the dark element and the other one was filled with the wind element, cutting up and also destroying the magic mammoth. Hua! One of the mammoth was dead. Rhea nodded in satisfaction when she saw her attack worked. The only downside was that the amount of mana she used was a bit too much. With a wave of her hand, a mana stone appeared in her hand and Rhea crushed it. The mana contained within was instantly merged into her hand. This was one of the expensive method of recovering mana since she didn't have any mana potion. Swish! Sensing the sudden danger, Rhea turned around and saw a shadow creature coming over. Bang! Rhea! Chapter 428. Deep into the crack. 3. Rhea! Thud! Boom! Cough cough. Shadow creature was the best at sneaking over and launching sneak attack. Since Rhea was basically standing still, she could be said to be the best target for these shadow creatures. Ugh! Rank 5 shadow creature, Rhea muttered. The rank of these magic beasts were really high. If any of these magic beasts came out, both of them were sure that the green planet would be destroyed in less than a day's time, because no one could withstand their attack. Rhea! Samuel called out again. I'm fine. Focus on your battle. Rhea yelled back and her hand had already started to form runes once more. She sneered. Since you want a battle so much, then I'll oblige you. Swish! Boom! While Rhea and Samuel were fighting underground in the crack, the others were working hard to clean up the magic ant's nest. Took them a few days to thoroughly explore the nest and found a lot of magic cores. The magic ants can't be eaten, but they sure have magic cores inside. Amelia was happy when she thought about her harvest. Yes, Sean was also delighted when he thought about their harvest. Their group was also following the soldiers to practice here and their progress was really good. Of course, the best was Mo. They all turned to look at Mo, who was eating the magic beast's meat heartily. The food was given from Rhea and Sophia managed it. But even if Mo ate several magic beasts every day, he didn't seem to be full. For some reasons, I envied his stomach. Reuben looked at Mo enviously. If he could eat as much as Mo, he was sure that he would be able to advance to rank 3 sooner. You're not the only one. Arnold also looked at Mo helplessly. If there's a way to compress the mana to help us advance quickly, it'll be the best, Sean added. No one around us could make mana potion, Stephen added. But Samuel said that there's someone who could in other place. The others? What's the use if that person is not around? They only wanted to get stronger faster and didn't care about someone who was so far away. Come on, let's eat something first before going back, Amelia reminded. They have been here for more than 2 weeks, but neither Samuel or Rhea had returned. Though none of them were that worried about him. Seeing his strength, they believed that Samuel and Rhea would be fine. Yes, since the magic ant's meat couldn't be eaten, they had to look for other magic beasts' meat to eat. It was not that hard to find other magic beasts around. The problem was in finding higher-ranked magic beasts, because the few that roamed around were usually only rank 1 to rank 2. The rank 1 magic beasts' meat were all packed back and the rank 2 magic beasts' meat were eaten by the soldiers and them. It was delicious. Mr. Arnold. Yes, Major General Leon? Arnold replied when he saw Major General Leon coming over. We have basically finished cleaning up this area and we plan to return. Do you wish to go back with us, or would you like to stay behind? Major General Arnold asked. Since Samuel and Rhea left, this group was basically led by Arnold. The main reason was simple as Arnold is basically the strongest magic warrior in their team. Moreover, they all knew Arnold's background and felt that he was suitable to lead them. Anyway, his order was easy to follow and all of them gained improvement in their fighting skills over the past few months. We will go with you, Arnold replied without hesitation. Even though he was already at the peak of rank 2 by now, but Arnold would not be blindly confident that he could deal with these magic beasts on his own. It would be better for them to go with the soldiers and so on. Good. Peter was not far from them and he waved his hand. Don't forget about me. I'm still waiting for a feast. Major General Leon was trying his best to keep his face emotionless as he faced Peter and said, Yes, I won't forget. Anyway, the one who paid would be the Martial Arts Association behind Peter. He only needed to make report to them about what Peter wanted to eat. There was no need for him to pay for Peter from his own pocket. But he silently lit a candle for the Martial Arts Association. Because these days, he had realized that Peter's appetite was simply too big. Major General Leon didn't even understand how this man managed to eat magic beast's meat that was more than 5 times bigger than his own body in one meal. It was to the point that many people were looking at Peter in astonishment. Because even if they were magic warrior, their appetite was not as scary as him. "I wonder if there's any change in the base by now," Peter commented. He didn't stay in City A base for that long, but he liked the atmosphere in the base. How about if he applied to the Martial Arts Association to stay in City A base temporarily? It didn't seem to be a bad idea. The group talked and chatted while they went back. Upon coming back, Reuben went to check on Samuel's work. Couldn't be helped. While he had his own work, one of his main work was to be Samuel's assistant, and as a qualified assistant, he had to check on Samuel's work progress in the base. So far, the results seemed to be quite good. Mr. Jones let Reuben came and told him about some things. "Mr. Black is still dissatisfied?" Reuben asked with confusion on his face. It seemed that this Mr. Black will never be satisfied no matter what they did. "You know him, he'll never stop if he didn't make trouble." Mr. Jones' eyes were a bit cold. Chapter 429, Report. Reuben laughed awkwardly. Even though Mr. Jones was already moving to work behind the scene after handing most of the work to Samuel back then, but Reuben knew very well that Mr. Jones was able to lead the Jones Corporation to rise not only because of the benefit but also because he's very ruthless. It was this move of Mr. Jones that made many people unwilling to offend him in the slightest bit. And now Mr. Jones was showing his sharpness again. Is this a bad thing or a good thing? "Do you want to kick him out, sir?" Reuben asked carefully. Mr. Jones glanced at Reuben and then shook his head. "It's not appropriate. But if he were to make another mistake, make sure that he can't stay. The Black family has been making trouble after trouble in City A base." Mr. Jones already disliked that old man for a long time but couldn't kick him out so easily. The resources were already snatched, and if they were to kick them out, some people might jump out to trouble him. It was really troublesome. So the only thing that Mr. Jones could do was to maintain this for the time being. "Now that you're back, it's time to sort out the work again," Mr. Jones said calmly. "There are various offers from other city bases for the resources. Did Samuel tell you anything before? The resources from Mr. Black's place would be used by City A base to be traded with other bases. After all, they didn't really need so much resources in hand. Since the military came back earlier, Mr. Jones had already asked someone to sort it all and send the list to him. All that left was the arrangement for the 80% that was left after handing 20% of it to the military. It could be said that Major General Leon was very satisfied with the military's share. "Yes, young master told me that since City A base is not lacking much, half of it will be used to get favor and the other half will be used to trade for other resources that City A base lacked," Reuben replied. Before leaving, Samuel had already given him enough instruction so that he could do his work well. After all, Samuel didn't know how long he would go to accompany Rhea this time, and if he didn't arrange the work, he would be neglecting his duty as the nominal leader of City A base. Well, he did neglect a lot of things, though. But this was not something that he had to concern himself about. With his father behind him, Samuel was favor, Mr. Jones narrowed his eyes. What is that brat planning again this time? Sometimes, Mr. Jones felt that he was out of tune with his own because he couldn't understand what Samuel was planning. While some of his son's tactics were similar with him, but the rest were completely different. And the main reason for this difference was the fact that Samuel had lived in a completely different world for 4 years. 4 years were neither a short or long time, and many things could happen in this period of time. Samuel should have experienced much more things that allowed him to understand that running a base and business would be different. He had his own plan for what he was doing. "Oh well, let's follow his plan," Mr. Jones sighed and said. "I'll show you the list of bases and their request." "Yes," Reuben nodded. To be honest, it would be better if they could send the resources in accordance to the needs of these bases, but Reuben knew that more investigation would take a long time. They didn't have any plan to keep this batch of resources in City A base for long. Anyway, There would be a lot of parties coming soon. Mr. Jones nodded and then asked, "Where's my son and daughter?" They seemed to be touring the new areas that was being built. Mr. Jones. How about Samuel? Samuel is still in the crack with Ria. He's going to the cracks again? Mr. Jones sighed and shook his head. He knew that Samuel didn't come back this time because he didn't see him through the surveillance camera. But he didn't expect that his son was so bold to enter the dangerous crack on his own. If it was not appropriate, Mr. Jones felt that he really wanted to scold his son. Sometimes he could be so worrying. Did Ria or Samuel say what they wanted to do? Mr. Jones asked. Reuben shook his head blankly. Mr. Jones saw Reuben's action and was not surprised. Samuel is technically Reuben's superior while Ria is Reuben's teacher. How could Reuben dare to ask question to these two people? He respected these two people very much. But this also meant that Mr. Jones didn't know what those two people were planning when they entered the crack this time. That brat is really... Why didn't he tell me about this matter earlier? Mr. Jones sighed. He understood that Samuel should want to explore the crack more than most people because of his identity and capability. Even though he felt a bit distressed for his son, but he's also proud of him and hoped that Samuel could achieve something. At this time, Sean and Amelia were inspecting the new areas of City A base. Arnold and Joan were also following them since they didn't have any other tasks lately. As for Stephen and Sophia, the two of them had already gone back earlier since they didn't want to walk around. Sophia still has to talk with her family members about her taking care of Mo for the time being. Considering that Mo is already a rank 3 magic beast, the Carson family should be able to understand that Sophia's friend is very powerful. To be honest, what Sophia hoped the most was that her cousin would not jump out suddenly to make trouble for her. Chapter 430. Touring City A base. It was really annoying. The construction is going very quickly, Amelia muttered as she looked at the construction that was still ongoing there. There were more people who had work in City A base, but at the same time the construction materials were used up very quickly. At the same time, Amelia was wondering whether it would be possible for these people to lose their jobs once City A base stopped their expansion. But well, this was not her problem. Humans were very creative. If there was no way for them to earn contribution point through the previous method, they would figure out something else and collected a lot of contribution points on their own. It was not her turn to worry about them. Yes.
Se han añadido.
Why does the base keep on expanding? Is the current size not enough? Amelia asked curiously. She felt that the base was already big enough, but they kept on increasing their size. Because there's possibility that there will be more people coming to seek refuge, Arnold replied. At this time, there are many private bases and also small settlement where people basically gathered together. They didn't know that there's an official bases in all cities. The government tried their best to accommodate these people, but some cities were actually lacking compared to other cities. For this reason, there were many people who chose not to go the base. They felt that they could live on their own and there was no problem. But as the strength of these magic beasts increased, the danger for these people who lived by themselves were also increasing. The good thing was that the website from the government allowed them to practice on their own, thus increasing their strength and survival capabilities. But they have to look for resources on their own instead of using the mature system that the government set up in the bases. How many people still didn't know the existence of the bases? Arnold didn't know, but he didn't think that there would be many of them. Because it has been a long time since the bases were built and according to normal situation, this matter should have spread out. With these magic beasts rampart outside, how many people still have the courage to be a lone wolf? So more and more people came to the base to settle down. Even if their lives might not be as good as before, but it was far better than risking their lives to face the magic beasts on their own. Oh! Amelia nodded and then looked at the construction in the distance. She noticed a few familiar people and her eyebrows arched. Uncle has started to work there too? The uncle in Amelia's mouth was definitely Valeria and Victoria's father. She didn't have any good impression of the other party, but she knew that he was still in City A base because her father didn't kick the other party out. To be honest, Amelia wished that her father could kick them out. At the very least, she didn't have to see them anymore. Apparently so. Sean also frowned when he saw this. There are many people who work in the construction site. Even if he were to work there, he couldn't make trouble, Arnold reassured the two people. I'm sure Mr. Jones had known about this too. You're so relaxed. Amelia passed a glance at Arnold. Arnold showed a smile. It's confidence brought by strength. Do you really think that they will have a chance to turn over when you're strong? He's confident that he had enough strength to deal with anyone who dared to make trouble in front of him. There was no way that Arnold would let these people jump up and down like a clown in front of him if they dared to target him. And he has never been a very patient person if it was not something he wanted. But, besides, it wouldn't be long before they suffer, Arnold said again. Why? The siblings were confused and Joan was also looking at Arnold's face curiously. But Arnold didn't answer and only smiled mysteriously. Come on. Tell me. Amelia clung to Arnold and gave him puppy eyes. She really wanted to know what her father was planning to do. Don't be so stingy. Sean also looked at Arnold with dissatisfaction. Who liked to receive half-piece of news. He felt that Arnold was, based on what he knew about Arnold, such tricks would not work for him. Someone who had experienced so much of the world would fall for the naive trick from Amelia? But Arnold was firm and he looked at Amelia who clung onto his arm like a koala. The smile on his face turned even more sincere and he pinched Amelia's cheek. Ah, don't pinch my cheek. Ha ha ha. The group was fooling around with each other, joking and playing together before going back. Arnold still didn't tell them what he knew, but he told them that they could see it soon. As for Victoria and Valeria's father, he was still busy working in the construction site, feeling as if the sky has fallen. Ever since his wife died, no one would take care of their family home. Valeria was really useless and the only thing she knew was how to make trouble. Crying, begging for money, and then made trouble at home and outside. It was to the point that Valeria's father wondered whether he should just sell off this daughter of his. She's nothing more than a burden to him. So his mind has been filled with calculation recently. As for Victoria, when that B*TCH came out of the prison, Valeria's father wanted to make sure that he beat her up. Chapter 431. Battle. That unfilial daughter only made Valeria's father annoyed. If only she was not in the prison, he would have made a move right away. But for now, he could only work honestly. These people who used to be the big bosses behind the scene were all now nothing more than construction worker. They have to work carefully and made sure that they didn't do anything wrong. Otherwise, it would not be an exaggeration to say that their status undergone complete change. From the boss to the worker. Some of them couldn't accept it and some others could accept it and learn to adapt. Because time is changing. But how could he be willing to let things stay this way? Some of them had accepted their fate and truly work honestly. But there were also others who were thinking of doing something behind and planning things. It was just that there was no chance for them to make a move, that they were still standing still. Right now, Valeria's father also knew that there was no chance for him to make a splash and change his fate. He could only patiently wait for an opportunity to arrive and strike hard to live a completely different life. If necessary, he didn't mind sacrificing those around him. They were worthless. Carson family. At this moment, Sophia was staying in the Carson family, looking at the few people who came to take a look. Even her grandfather was there. You're saying that this white tiger has reached rank 3? Old Master Carson asked. His voice was trembling. He didn't expect that his daughter would be able to bring such a powerful magic beast, and this magic beast was still listening to her word. Just looking at how Mo was baring teeth at the other members of the Carson family, and how he was rubbing Sophia's legs affectionately, one could see the deep preferences of this white tiger. But at the same time, Old Master Carson knew that this was not what Sophia wanted to tell him, because if this white tiger belongs to Sophia, she would not use such a tone when talking to him. Yes, Mo is my friend's pet and she asked me to take of him for the time being. Don't worry, she gave me more than enough food to feed him and I will not use the Carson family's supplies, Sophia explained. If she didn't say this up front, some of her aunt or uncles would definitely think that she was using the Carson family's resources for her own benefit. It would be very annoying. The Carson family was united on the front and outsiders wouldn't be able to point at them and see anything wrong. But those who were inside all knew that none of them have true good relationship with each other. If it was not for the sake of the Carson family, none of them would be staying here on purpose. Ghost knew what was in their heart. The only thing they knew right now was the fact that they had to listen to Old Master Carson if they wanted to prosper together and do a good job to prove their worth to the family. Otherwise, they would be discarded as an abandoned chess piece that has no worth left. Sacrificing and cutting off things that was not beneficial to the family was extremely common for the Carson family. It was something that had happened countless times in the past. Now that the number of members in the Carson family was not much, they had to be more cautious. Because Old Master Carson would not tolerate their mistakes if they were to cause more trouble for the other members in the Carson family. Any action detrimental to the family was forbidden. But this didn't prevent them from having infighting and fighting for favor. It was something that happened all the time, and Sophia had seen it a lot. To prevent herself from being targeted as one of the potential target to be disturbed by them, the only thing that Sophia could do was to make things clear to her grandfather as much as possible and put herself in the position of importance in the Carson family. Sorry about this, Mo. For this, Sophia will have to use Mo. She knew that Ria would not mind, but she still felt a bit guilty for the two of them. Then again, when Ria handed over Mo for her to take care, Ria should have known that she might do this. After all, Sophia was different from the naive and cute Amelia. She did like to have fun, but she has more common sense and restraint because of her family upbringing. I understand. Old Master Carson nodded. Tisk. That's what you said, but who knows whether you're saying the truth? One of the uncles grumbled. Sophia said nothing and ignored him. She was not close to her relatives and had no interest to become close to them all of the sudden either. After all, they didn't have much intersection before, and there was no need for her to forcefully create intersection in the future. The current relationship was already good enough, and there was no need to change it. How about Melly? Old Master Carson asked. Melly is good. She has reached the peak of rank 2. Sophia smiled brightly when she mentioned this. And thanks to her, I have reached rank 1. I estimated that after Melly advanced to rank 3, I might be able to reach rank 2 and thus contracted the second magic beast. Second magic beast. When the other Carson family members heard this, their eyes turned to look at Sophia with envy. They all knew very well that Sophia barely suffered in her training because the one who will take the front line for her is Melly. This kind of method was really enviable, and many of them also wanted to become a beast master. But Old Master Carson didn't allow them to. Chapter 432. Battle 2. The main reason was because it was not that easy for one to become a beast master. The Magic Association had already explained the method, but they didn't tell the details about the contract. If they wanted the help of the Magic Association, they either have to pay a large amount of resources or join the Magic Association. So far, Old Master Carson didn't want to do this. He could only hold back, because joining a faction might involve the entire family behind him to be involved with the Magic Association. If they truly wanted to send someone inside, it would be better to arrange for their relationship first. A person who could be pulled in and out as conveniently as possible. The other members of the Carson family was not surprised when they heard Old Master Carson's arrangement, because this is not the first time. They had done it several times before the earthquake happened in order to gain foothold in the business world. You did good, Sophia. Go back and rest. This white tiger can stay in the backyard for the time being. Thank you, Grandpa. Sophia smiled brightly. With her grandfather's words, Sophia believed that her uncles and aunt would not bother her for this matter. Even if they were not satisfied, they would not talk to her directly. This would make it easier for her. With that, Sophia left. Stephen wanted to go back too, but Old Master Carson signaled for him to stay behind. He could only stay on his place and waited until his sister left. What's Sophia's relationship with the Runemaster? Old Master Carson asked. Stephen looked at his grandfather. Don't you know it yourself, Grandpa? Stephen, don't be so impolite to your grandfather. Hearing his father reprimand, Stephen didn't answer and only looked at his grandfather lightly. No matter what his grandfather planned to say, he would not tell anything. Because he knew very well that there was a confidential agreement for most people who come into contact with Ria. The only reason that Samuel didn't ask them to do so was because Rhea is his sister's friend and she trusted them. So why should he told this matter to others and broke this trust? Stephen couldn't do this, even if the one who asked him was his father or grandfather. But Stephen didn't want to betray his friend's trust. Moreover, he himself knew better than anyone that the reason why he could become Samuel's friend was because he knew how to keep the other party's secret. Since that was the case, he will maintain it until the very end. Do you really want to do this, Stephen? Old Master Carson asked slowly. Grandpa, I'm sorry. Stephen didn't want to answer and he looked at his grandfather calmly. There was no ripples in his eyes and the stubborn eyes were very different from his obedient father. Old Master Carson looked back at his unruly grandson. Stephen, I can't help you, Grandpa. If you want to know, you should figure it out yourself. With that, Stephen lowered his eyes, bowed, and walked back to his own room. Old Master Carson looked at the young man's back and shook his head. He saw the other children of his were angry and looked like they wanted to seek justice, but he just waved his hand. Did they think he didn't know about their quarrels and competition in secret? He only acted like he didn't know because he didn't want to meddle. And old Master Carson knew very well that some of his grandchildren were harder to control than his children. After all, he was already old when they came to this world and H had no time to care for them deeply. Unlike his children's obedience to him, some of his grandsons have a completely different idea from him. Father, I will persuade him. Stephen's father looked hesitant and wanted to go chase his son. No need. Old Master Carson waved his hand. Even if Stephen didn't tell him, he could also send others to investigate this matter. The problem is, it would not be so easy for him to get the information as compared to asking the person involved directly. But it didn't matter. He had his own way of doing things. TSK, even if he was already old, he had no plans in putting his life in the hands of others. Rhea and Samuel sighed. While the others were busy in Cydia base, the two people were also busy in the crack. It has been a few days since they started fighting and these magic beasts kept on pouring in. On one side, it was a happy thing to be able to get a lot of magic beasts' corpses for resources. But on another side, it was truly a pain to fight all day long. Not mentioning the pain and fatigue, just the fact that they had to concentrate and fought all day long was more than enough to cause stress on their body and mind. Who could withstand fighting for 24 hours a day? If they were not Runemaster and Magic Warrior, it was estimated that they would have long fainted because of the intensity. Bang! Take a rest first, Rhea said and moved to the wall. Yes. Samuel followed Rhea and the two of them entered a small cave on the side wall that Rhea made some time ago. She put on concealing formation there, preventing these magic beasts from finding them out. Thankfully, these magic beasts were only rank 5 magic beasts. For the past 2 weeks or so, they have been fighting countless life and death battle against these magic beasts. How many of them are left? Samuel asked as he roasted the magic beast's meat in his hand. The progress during the past 2 weeks were several times faster than when he was training in seclusion in Cydia base. Warriors truly have to fight to be able to advance faster. Chapter 433. Conversation between Rhea and Samuel. Not many, Rhea replied. 1 more sessions should be enough to clear them out. Good. Samuel heaved a sigh of relief. Rhea glanced at Samuel. You've been eating most of the resources you obtained from killing these magic beasts. What are you planning to bring back? Samuel froze. Unlike Rhea, who only ate a small portion of the rank 5 magic beast's meat, Samuel ate almost everything. This was one of the reasons why he managed to reach the mid-rank 5 in such a short period of time. Life and death training on one side and a large amount of resources on the other side. Without either of them, he would not have been able to advance. But the bad thing was that he didn't have a lot of magic beasts' corpses to bring back. His future progress would definitely be very slow. When Samuel thought about this, he also felt helpless. Magic warriors and warriors required a large amount of magic beasts' meat for their improvement. I'll think of a way to hunt more, Samuel said bitterly. Rhea looked at Samuel like this and laughed in amusement. You eat so much that there might not be enough magic beasts in the end. After I reach rank 7, I won't need to, Samuel argued. because once he reached that rank, the need for mana has lowered. What the magic warriors and mages had to pursue was their skills and their mental strength. Due to this reason, it was hard for magicians and magic warriors to advance in their ranks after they reached rank 7. It could be said that rank 1 to rank 6 were the stage where they could improve physically and needed more resources. But starting from rank 7, the resources that they could use had decreased considerably. Or rather, they were more rarer. Yes, yes. Rhea nodded in amusement, and then she asked, "Have you reached rank 7 in that world?" "I have." Samuel nodded. So the two of them actually reached the same rank before? Rhea arched her eyebrows and nodded thoughtfully. Seeing her expression, Samuel thought about something and asked, "Have you reached rank 7 in that world?" "I have," Rhea replied calmly. The fact that the two of them returned from that world was no longer a secret. Besides, Rhea didn't really think that she would be able to hide such a thing from him when he was really sharp. The lie that she made back then was full of loopholes. It was simply impossible for him to believe it. But they were adults, and even if they knew that the other party was lying, they would not demolish their platform so easily, because there was truly no need for them to do so and just knew about it in their heart. Now that they were talking openly about this, it seemed as if things had gotten clearer with each other. "I see." Samuel nodded and then asked, "Does a pure rune master different from ordinary magicians at rank 7? He knew that Rune Master was actually a branch of magic, but he didn't know much about the pure rune masters. How many people would consciously only use runes as their means of attack instead of normal spell-casting magic? The number shouldn't be that big. And Rhea is a pure rune master based on the speed in which she drew her runes and used it as her normal magic spell. He had never encountered a second person like Rhea before. "Ha!" Rhea thought for a moment and then said, "In terms of what we have to pursue when reaching rank 7, there's not much difference. But our methods to reach rank 7 is different." "Different method?" Samuel's eyes flickered when he heard that. Rhea saw this and smiled faintly. "Are you thinking about the fact that there are so many paths heading to the peak? Isn't it only obvious for one to try using their advantage instead of disadvantage? If you have talent as a magician, why would you walk the path of a warrior? It'll only waste more of your time and make you work harder than usual. But if you were to work in the field you have talent in and continue to walk on this path, then your achievement would be higher than walking in other paths." Samuel chuckled at Rhea's preaching-like words. "I know, and I think that you should understand very well that the so-called talent is really diverse." He had learned the history of that world and knew that in the beginning it was chaotic. Magician, warriors, and the branches below them were all heading towards the same goal above. Indeed, Rhea sighed. Thinking about the time when she had to line up to test her talent, Rhea really felt tired. She didn't have good background and had to rely on the so-called charity and chances given by those big schools and families in order to have the chance to learn to become a magician, warrior, or magic warrior. She could still remember the day when she tried her test that her talent for warrior was at the bottom. It was so bad that even if she worked for her entire life, she might not be able to pass rank 3. And warrior's development was much more suitable for young people, because their blood was richer and they were vigorous. If they practiced when they were too old, they had to be careful because of various complications. Later on, Rhea headed to the magician's section and found out that her magic elements concentration was extremely balanced for all elements. It means she's below average for all of the elements. That news was more than enough to hit her hard. Chapter 434. Theory. Living in the world of magic but not having any magic or warrior's talent. Rhea really felt that fate was against her at that time. But at the same time, she didn't want to give up, so she chose to try becoming a magician, even though both paths' talent were really bad. But the magician's talent was slightly better than the warrior's path. She might still have a chance to achieve something should she follow on this path. In that expensive academy that almost made her want to die, she stumbled across the Runemaster class. After seeing that she could understand everything so easily, Rhea seemed to see a ray of hope. If she couldn't become a normal magician, why not become a Runemaster? A pure Runemaster who walked on a brand new path. In this way, a pure Runemaster was born. And it took her 4 years to be able to reach rank 7, an achievement that should have been impossible with her normal talent. She would have to be the one to deduce the path forward. Be it good or bad, she had to try it herself. To walk on a path carved by yourself, it'll be the most suitable path for you, Samuel said slowly. There's no need to follow the conventional path, but to choose the path that you like and could allow you to shine the most. Samuel looked at the magic beasts at the front and then added, whether it's right or wrong, time will tell. At the very least, you will not have any regret. Rhea smiled and chuckled. You're right, Senior Samuel. Swish. Seeing more magic beasts coming over, the two of them frowned and then started to move. One of them was using the sword and the other was forming runes midair. To be honest, the magic method of using runes instead of spellcasting was not that bad. At the very least, they didn't have to say and hear those embarrassing lines. After all, the magic spells were not exactly very pleasant to hear. Bang! Bang! A pile of magic beasts' corpse fell to the ground and Rhea looked at it indifferently. Her hand moved and these magic beasts' corpses disappeared while those that were a distance away from her started to back away in fear. The current Rhea was completely different from her usual image. There was no warm-hearted smile on her face and what left was nothing more than ruthless killing intent. Icy snow strike, Rhea said coldly and the runes in her hand had moved, forming a beautiful blue-colored light. The next moment, countless white sharp ice blades formed around Rhea, and with a swoosh it pierced through the countless magic beasts around them. But none of them headed in Samuel's direction. Her perfect control was brilliantly demonstrated in this battle. So beautiful. Samuel put down his sword. The lightning had covered and no more magic beasts were coming towards them. The combination of the ice and lightning element was more than enough to stop them from getting closer. The only difference was that most of the magic beasts' corpses around Rhea had holes on their vital points, while the magic beasts around Samuel were either intact or completely scarred. Magic is always beautiful. Rhea chuckled at Samuel's words. She looked at him with a smile. Haven't you seen more beautiful magic spells in that world? The formation she made just now was created for battles. Even if there was some element of beauty, violent beauty, but it was definitely not the most beautiful magic spell in the entire world. Samuel looked at Rhea deeply and smiled. What he meant beautiful is Rhea. But he was not sure what her reaction would be if he said it, so Samuel held back and then said, "Do you like ice element?" "It's convenient," Rhea replied. "And it's not like there will be much difference what element I use." With her talent in all elements were basically the same, the only difference was the degree of control and the formation that she had mastered over them. For battles, Rhea had developed various elements formations, each with their own use. When there was a chance in the future, she will naturally show it to Samuel. But now just the ice one was enough. "You have a lot of elements compatibility," Samuel said. His tone was certain. He had seen the element test magic scroll that Rhea used before. For her to be able to detect other people's various elements, it had already shown that she has a lot of magic elements. Everyone has all elements in their body. The only difference is the percentage, Rhea replied. If it's less than 1%, there's basically no chance to ever sensing them in your entire life. This was the rule and what basically stopped many people from becoming a magician in the first place. The theory is not complete. Samuel looked at Rhea with perplexed expressions. You do know that not everyone have 100% of magic compatibility, right? There's upper limit of their mana compatibility, and then this mana compatibility will be diverged among all elements. The lowest was 0.000000001%. Rhea blinked her eyes in surprise. What? Did you never learn about it? Samuel was confused, but he continued the explanation. Both humans and animals have degree of compatibility with mana itself. You should also know that there are non-elemental mana and the degree of compatibility depends on how much of the non-elemental mana you can absorb after being exposed to it. As long as you can retain more than 20%, you have the possibility of becoming a magician. The threshold might seem low, but majority of people wouldn't be able to reach even 10%, which meant that they didn't have any talent to become magician. Chapter 435. Perhaps? Samuel paused for a moment. He has also tested himself in that world, so he knew that his talent to become magician was actually very high. Afterwards, he tested the warrior's talent and found that the talent was equally high. It was precisely because of this that he eventually became a magic warrior and didn't follow one or the other. This was also the most suitable for him. But Samuel knew that keeping the balance for the two completely different paths was not that easy. Most magic warriors were those with average talent for both paths. But the people in his family were all people with extremely high talent for both of them. It would be a waste to develop only one of them. But developing the two of them equally would also take a long time. It was precisely because of this that there were not many magic warriors who eventually reached the peak. This path is difficult. In any case, only after determining your talent as a magician would they test the elemental concentration for you. They will naturally give it in the percentage to 100%, but it was actually still relative to your own mana concentration. With Samuel's explanation, Ria's expression turned dull, because she seemed to have completely ignored the first test. Forgive her ignorance, but as someone who only came into contact with magic with great difficulty, Ria didn't know that the test was actually divided into two. She only knew that she was asked to do this and then that before she was given the report of her magic test. So her magic talent. Ria thought about the number at the top of the test list at that time and her expression turned complicated. Even though the evenness of her elemental magic would make her path in the future difficult, but her own talent was actually high. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to reach rank 7 in such a short period of time. I see. Thank you for clearing up my confusion, Ria said in helpless tone. She didn't know about this and only knew that she has all elements and all of them were of the same percentage. She never paid attention to her own magic talent. Because it was pointless to care. At that time she took the test. She was still an ordinary person and Ria couldn't remember for certain the number on the top. But she remembered that the teacher suggested for her to become a magician and sighed deeply because of her magic element. Developing a few magic elements would be a waste of the talent. But developing all of them, it would be another nightmare. It's nothing much. Samuel looked at Ria helplessly. I guess you were not exposed to this knowledge before. I didn't come from such an influential family like you, Samuel, Ria said with a dark face. Samuel heard Ria's way of calling him, and the corner of his lips curled up slightly. It was rare for Ria to be so casual or rather impolite in front of him. Her tone was clearly a bit harsher than usual, but it just sounded like she was annoyed after being teased. So he didn't mind in the slightest bit. Then again, the knowledge about this matter isn't very important except for getting started, Samuel said. I thought that when you recommend Reuben and Stephen to become magician, you have already thought about this matter. I don't know how to test their magic talent, but based on their speed, their talent should be better than the others, Ria replied. I originally thought that it should be related to their degree of compatibility with their elements, but I guess there are other factors. Samuel nodded in agreement. He knew about this because his family taught him everything very clearly. When he had any question, he could simply came to them and ask the answer from them. With his status, who dared not answer? So it was very easy for Samuel to understand many things about that world and embarked on the path of a magic warrior as soon as he arrived. But not everyone was as lucky as him. Samuel knew about Peter's expression more or less. From what Peter said, he suffered a lot in order to test his talent and finally being able to get a warrior's exercise. The first year was extremely miserable for Peter because he almost died many times on the road of starting his practice. But he persevered. And thanks to that, he managed to become a rank 7 warrior and fought against countless people and magic beasts. His fame spread out and no one dared to ignore this man who came from the humble background. Though no one would have thought that this man was really annoying in private. Samuel sighed when he thought about the time when Peter came and troubled him. He really wanted to knock off the other party's head at times to see what was inside. Have we ever met in that world, Ria? Samuel asked another question he has been wondering about. Ria's talent is really high and normally speaking, it would not be strange for them to see each other. Even if Ria is not very famous, but she should be someone who had made a name for herself one way or another. Was she truly that low-key? Perhaps. Rhea looked at Samuel with uncertainty. While I do know your name as you're famous, but you're basically staying within your family compound and only came out for a few trips. During those trips of yours, I was busy with other things and didn't come to the same place. The only possibility is that we might have bumped in the cities but didn't have any impression of each other. She was not entirely sure. To be honest, Rhea felt that she should have remembered if she met with Samuel, but she really couldn't remember, coupled with the fact that she usually wore a hood that covered her appearance. Yeah, it was unlikely for them to meet. Chapter 436. How did you die? Samuel heard Rhea's answer and looked at the other party helplessly. Then let me ask it in another way. Do you change your name when you're in that world? After all, there are also cursed magicians. Cursed magicians couldn't curse other people easily without obtaining things that the other party found precious. Rhea interrupted Samuel. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Samuel. Don't tell me that you don't know this. I know, but another thing that they need is to have your full name, Samuel continued. Our surnames should be different in that world, but I don't know about your given name. It's still Rhea, Rhea replied. She never changed her name aside from the fact that the surname she had in that world was different. But since there was no need for her to introduce herself with her full name most of the time, she didn't pay that much attention. Samuel couldn't remember meeting someone with the same name as Rhea and then asked, Do you join the Runemaster Association? Yes. Then you should be one of those people who usually hide under their magic robe. Samuel looked at Rhea helplessly. He didn't understand why those rune masters liked to wear long robe all the time. Rhea stuck out her tongue playfully. You don't understand. Rune Master has to maintain a sense of mystery. Samuel rolled his eyes and Rhea laughed. The two of them were clearly joking with each other, but Samuel understood that some rune masters were targeted. So it would be better for them not to show their faces around. Some of them like to show off, though. All right. Do you have other question? Samuel asked. Rhea thought for a moment and then asked, With your family background, how did you die? Samuel had the best treasure and various protective measure given to him by his family. With his genius's aptitude, it was only obvious that the family behind him would try their best to cultivate him to the limit. And it was impossible for them to let Samuel fall down midway so easily. Samuel was stunned and then smiled bitterly. There's a chaos all over the world and countless people have to be involved. I think many of us should have fallen during this period of time. Chaos? Rhea looked at Samuel with suspicion. The magic beast's tide? Yes, there's a great magic beast's tide that happened once every 1,000 years, Samuel replied. Everyone had to participate no matter whether they were weak or strong. I was caught in the middle of the magic beast's horde and failed to escape. He had to say it was quite miserable, but he didn't regret it, because he was fighting for the people behind him who couldn't protect themselves. And as a magic warrior, he also pursued strength. Only through continuous tempering would it be possible for him to become stronger. His family had given him a lot of things, so it was only right for him to step forward to protect them when he had the strength to do so. Unfortunately, it also signaled his ending. Rhea nodded absent-mindedly. She died a few days before this great magic beast's tide because of the treasure that appeared. Many people guessed that the treasure appeared and attracted the great magic beast's tide. So they wanted to take it for themselves on the basis that it would help to distract the magic beasts away. But that kind of rhetoric couldn't fool these old magicians. Rhea tagged along behind these higher-ranked magicians who fought for the world treasure, and when she finally got it, she was besieged and died under the bombardment of magic. Did you die before the great magic beast's tide? Samuel asked. It should be obvious when he heard Rhea's tone. But Samuel still asked for confirmation. And this meant that Rhea should have died before him in that world. Rhea also knew that. But she felt as if Samuel should have returned from that world earlier than her. Then again, their trip was nothing more than a blink of the eye in this world. Yes, Rhea shrugged. But it's not for nothing. Samuel nodded in understanding. Everyone had their own chance in that world, and he would not go around asking what they got. After all, they have their own secret, and it was not good to pry into other people's secret like that. Samuel also didn't want to offend other people for no reason. Where do you think this crack is heading to? Rhea suddenly asked another question. Samuel shook his head. I don't know about it, but since these higher-ranked magic beasts could exist, the crack's environment might become even more extreme. Right now, it was already far below the 0 degree, and the magic beasts that appeared outside were all magic beasts who were good at ice and water magic. This environment was also very bad for him who has fire element, because he could sense that the fire element in the air was very little, so little that his magic could not work well. For this reason, Samuel was also helpless. Mana existed in the air and nature all over the world. But how much mana existed in a place would depend on the environment. Otherwise, there would not be so many magicians and magic warriors who went to great lengths in order to pay a visit to other extreme environment just to practice. They all knew that only by going there would it be possible for them to advance faster. Otherwise, their practice speed was just like turtles' walking speed. Afraid?
No.
Samuel looked at Rhea and then asked, I guess you should have your reasons why you have to come here and explore, right? Yes. Rhea looked outside where many magic beasts were searching for the two of them heedlessly. They couldn't find the two of them thanks to the concealment formation that she had set up. It blocked all 6 senses of these magic beasts. That is if they have 6 senses. Chapter 437. Victoria's father. What do you see? Another formation, Rhea murmured, her eyes condensed. She still sent out those jade dolls out. Some of the jade dolls were destroyed by the magic beasts who were territorial, but many of these jade dolls still existed and were busy searching around. Through their effort, Rhea was able to create a basic map of the crack in this area and found that there were many dead ends. All of these dead ends were leading to various nests of these magic beasts. It was terrifying to see, but they could be a good hunting grounds if they were stronger. I'm still at the early stage of rank 5 while Samuel had reached the middle stage. The improvement of magicians are indeed slow. Rhea sighed to herself in her heart when she thought about this. It was not like she wanted it to be this way, but there was simply no other methods for magicians to rise quickly in ranks aside from using the special magic core or some other forbidden methods. And Rhea definitely didn't want to use forbidden method that could damage her foundation. That's a big no. She wanted to be a strong Runemaster. Let's clean up the magic beasts. Have you rested enough? Yes. Rhea and Samuel were busy within the crack, and the people outside were also busy with their own things. Among them, Victoria finally managed to get out of the prison after staying there for a few days. She didn't understand why they released her so easily, but after she read the document, she realized that they categorized her action as defensive counterattack. Since she only did it for the sake of defending herself, they would not hold her for too long. Even though the defensive measure was a bit too much, but it was all good. After this matter, no one dared to get close to Victoria. Life in the prison was not that bad, and Victoria didn't have to face her annoying family members anymore. Moreover, she finally advanced to rank 1 of Magic Warrior. Even though Victoria felt really hungry because there was only 1 meal every day in prison, but it was good enough to sustain her life so far. And being able to train quietly is also very good. But is this really the path that she truly wanted to take? Victoria looked at her hand as she finished the formality documents in front of her. The base had only been built for a short period of time, but most of the things here were already complete, and there was basically a complete administration work. The people should be busy. Not that Victoria cared about that. She looked at the documents in her hand, her eyes lowered slightly. Is the case really that simple? Or is there someone else's handwriting in this matter that allowed her to get out of the prison so quickly? Victoria didn't know. But even if she didn't know, it didn't mean that she had no idea at all. She's not stupid. Being able to survive under the exploitation of her parents for such a long time, Victoria was used to the fact that they would use their influence and money to turn things around for their favor. Even if things looked like it was going against them, they would figure out a way to make it favorable for them. One way or another, nothing could go against them. But I really couldn't accept this favor. The feeling of blood flowing on her hand was still vivid in her mind, and Victoria couldn't shake it out from her brain. Even when she was dreaming, she kept on seeing the scene that she didn't want to see. Saying that she has affection for her mother, it was definitely not right. She didn't have any affection for that woman. But saying that she didn't feel anything after killing someone would definitely be wrong. That was the first time in her life she had ever killed someone, and the person she killed was her own mother. Even if it was an accident, Victoria felt that this matter would haunt her for the rest of her life. But if one were to ask whether she regret her decision back then or not, strangely, she didn't feel any regret. It was as if something inside her heart was released. If Victoria had to say, it was truly a strange feeling. Am I really so heartless? Victoria pondered to herself as she put away the document that she has finished signed. There were a few things that was brought to the police station at that time, and now Victoria was taking them back. Just her phone and wallet. There were some messages in her phone, but Victoria was clearly not in the mood to check any of them. She just wanted to go. Her brain was a mess, and Victoria could clearly feel that it was wrong for her to do this. But at the same time, she also knew that even if it was wrong, she had no regret for her action or anything like that. Remorse? There was none. The only reason why she turned herself in was because Victoria knew that it was impossible for her to get away with this crime. Rather than running away unclearly, it would be better to stay in prison. Well, my stomach definitely suffer, but it's better than being chased and then possibly got killed somewhere unknown. Victoria looked at the wall. Her expression was complicated. She clearly wanted to be able to get out and be free, but at the same time, she also knew that it was such an unrealistic dream because of those magic beasts and her own ability. As a weak and ordinary person, she could only live ordinarily. Victoria sighed in her heart. But she could clearly feel the deep sense of unwillingness that seeped out from deep within her heart. She didn't want to be like this. Chapter 438. Confrontation between father and daughter. Victoria took her belongings back and walked out of the prison, only to see the person she least wanted to see. "You finally come out." Victoria's father looked haggard. Without his wife to help him manage the household and help to pay the bill, he had to take care of everything. Right now, he just wanted to let Victoria help him to buy more food. Valeria was completely useless, and Victoria's father had long given up on asking that girl to work. He arranged for Valeria to do other things. "What do you want?" Victoria asked with a frown. "No matter what, I'm your father. Is this how you talk with your father?" Victoria's father asked back in stern tone. He really wanted to smash this annoying daughter and made her behave. She kept on challenging his patience over and over again. This made him wonder whether Victoria ever thought of him as her father instead of her enemy like this. Victoria looked at her father coldly. Her cold gaze made Victoria's father flinch, but then he thought that the person in front of him is his daughter and that she's just a weak woman. There was no way she could possibly fight back against him, and the courage that was seeping out quickly returned. What Victoria's father wanted was a person who could provide him at all time and allowed him to live comfortably. Even though Victoria used to be obedient, she was also quite rebellious in some areas. This made Victoria's father annoyed with this daughter of his. She had no other value other than to let him live better and more comfortably. "Give me contribution points." "Why should I give it to you?" "Because you're my daughter." "Just because I'm your daughter doesn't mean that I have to be responsible for your life. You're an adult and of working age. You should work by yourself. Do you think that you can do anything now that—" Bang! Victoria punched the rock on the side road. There were many of these things, which was the leftover from the construction site. The police detaining place has always been at the outer edge of city, a base, precisely to avoid these people coming into the city and wreaked havoc inside. The rock was destroyed completely. Even if the rock was not that big, but it was definitely not something that an ordinary person could do in their entire life. There was only one answer. Victoria has managed to become a magic warrior. "You!" Victoria's father saw this and was stunned. "I'm already a magic warrior right now, and you have seen what I have done to Mother." Victoria took a deep breath and looked at her father. "Stop pestering me and work on your own. Otherwise, I think that another trip to the jail would be a good idea." Victoria's father didn't move. He looked at his daughter, who looked like a stranger, and wanted to catch up. But whenever he remembered her power, he felt that something was restraining him. Right now, the laws regarding magic warriors and the others were not complete. But there was already trace of favor towards them because those who could train could go outside and fight against the magic beasts to get stronger. Afterwards, they would become stronger and stronger, completely leaving the ordinary people behind. Victoria is already a rank 1 magic warrior, and as long as she trained honestly, it was not impossible for her to reach higher ranks in time. She has the talent. But, you unfilial daughter, do you really think that you can bypass the law just because you're a magic warrior? Victoria's father cursed. He had to find out the regulation for the magic warriors as soon as possible and think of a way to get his daughter to listen to him. Victoria paused for a moment and then sneered. At least, I don't have to entangle with you anymore, and it's far better than your situation. She didn't want to talk with her father anymore as it would only make her angry. You! Victoria's father looked at his daughter who was leaving and felt really angry that blood surged up. He almost vomited blood in anger. How could his daughter become so powerful and out of his control? This couldn't be. This made him very unwilling. No. I have to become a magic warrior too. He might have long passed the age of training and so on, but Victoria's father believed that if his daughter had the talent to become a magic warrior, then he should be able to become one too. He didn't believe that he couldn't do what his daughter could do. Huff. Victoria took a deep breath and looked at her hand. The power that she gained from becoming a magic warrior made her fascinated. But at the same time, Victoria also knew that it's too slow. Her talent is low and her progress is slow. What should she do? As she walked back to the community, Victoria heard some girls were discussing with each others. Have you heard about the demonic magician? Yes. They also made a website and many people are pouring in every day. The method are very bloody and dirty. But it's said that everyone can become a magician easily with this method. Even if your talent is low, you can always become a magician through this path. Victoria paused in her steps. She looked at the girls and her eyes narrowed slightly. Demonic magician? She had to check it. The same conversation was placed in various bases, not only in Cydia base. With the appearance of warriors, magic warriors, and even magicians, the demonic magician could only be said to be one of the paths. But while this path was more open to people because of the low threshold of learning, it was also very terrifying because they could also target people to take over their mana heart. This made many people terrified. Chapter 439 Worry. Because of this, Martial Arts Association and Magic Association made announcement almost immediately. They shared the method to prevent their magic cores from being taken by the demonic magicians. There were so many of them, and these have been proved to be effective by them. As for how they knew so much, Samuel and Ruth shared their knowledge about this matter a long time ago. This was because when they found out that Dina Alden is in this world, they have long prepared countermeasure to deal with her. None of them would allow Dina Alden to take their mana cores. Dina herself also knew that even if she wanted to take other humans' magic core, or often called as mana heart, she could not target the other returnees like her. Because each and every single one of them definitely have terrifying methods that she might not be able to bear. For the sake of her own life, Dina should not target them. This was something that Dina herself knew very well, but whether others knew or not, it didn't matter for her. She just needed to spread her ways to others and let them know the existence of the demonic magician. Mr. Jones was also having headache because of this matter. There are more and more people who want to become demonic magician because their progress in practicing magic warriors meditation was too slow. Without talent, it was hard for them to improve their strength. This saying was true in various matters. People without enough talent would find it difficult to start in some areas. But for some of them, as long as they have the passion, then they would charge forward without hesitation and continue to pursue it. Whether they would regret it or not was another question. But if they have never tried it, then they would be the one to regret it. Since the chance was presented in front of them, how could they not try it and see whether they have the talent or not? After all, talent is intangible and they couldn't see it. They wouldn't know whether they have the talent or not without trying it out. And the demonic magician's path clearly made many people attracted because of the low entrance threshold. Other profession required them to have good talent for them to achieve something. Well, it was not impossible for them to reach great heights as long as they worked hard even if their talent was ordinary, but it would be a difficult and arduous journey. They might even need certain luck to be able to go forward. But in any case, it was their own life choice and journey. Mr. Jones would not say anything about those people. The problem in his hand right now was the fact that the temptation of the demonic magician's path was really tempting for many people without sufficient talent. A few months would be enough for them to determine whether they have some talent or not. Because if they still couldn't get started even after a month of meditation and effort, they might not be able to achieve much. The cost for them to walk on the path of magicians, magic warriors, or even warriors would be too difficult and very pricey. It was a price that many people could not afford to pay because they also needed to live. Granted that not everyone would be so foolish. After all, those who were smart should understand that there was no true shortcuts in their lives. They had to pay it through other ways one way or another. And this demonic magician's path was the same. If they were to walk on this path, then they had to be prepared to be able to lose their lives at all time. For many people who imagined a bright future, this was definitely not a path that they would choose. But who knows whether there will be some people whose heads were kicked by donkey and couldn't think straight. Mr. Jones couldn't really do anything about it because he himself was also limited in his talent for his advancement. The only thing that could help them advance faster was if they have more resources. But unless they have loads of resources, those with poor talent would still find it difficult for them to advance. Blocking the news will play the opposite effect. I wonder how Mr. A plans to deal with this. Mr. Jones asked to the screen in front of him. It has been a while since the earthquake happened and right now, the bases were already working in the right direction. The problem of food has been solved with the help of Riya's formation. That formation basically accelerated the plant's growth. In this way, it didn't take long for them to harvest the food and then process them into food that was suitable to eat. The government was no longer so pressed about the problem of food and drink but could pay more attention to the magic beasts. They have gathered a large amount of magic beasts' corpses that was basically frozen, waiting for Riya to pick it up. Unfortunately, Riya was still in the crack with Samuel. 2 weeks with no news. And now they have other problems to deal with. Let them know and pay more attention. Mr. A shook his head. Right now, I can't do anything and the person in charge didn't have any time to deal with this. Dina chose the right time to spread the news out. Because at this time, they had no energy to deal with Dina and the mess that she created. This made Mr. A suspicious whether there were Dina's people among the higher-ups or she might have hacked into their information database or anything like that. But no matter which one it is, it would be impossible to investigate in a short period of time. It was really annoying. Mr. A felt that these returnees were all people with too much ideas in their heads. Chapter 440. Worry 2. If it was possible, there were many people who didn't want to work together with these returnees. These returnees were not people who have been educated systematically to serve the nation or people with great ideas. When Mr. A met with them, he knew very well that each and every single one of them had their own goal and their own methods to do things. The problem is, no one could be sure what kind of method they were going to do. From the questioning to Peter and the others, they managed to find out that these people spent 4 years in that world, give or take. 4 years was definitely not a short period of time. What they experienced in that world would definitely affect their decision-making in this world and how they acted. If they were used to do crimes when they were in that world, would they also repeat it in this world? It was something that everyone worried about. Mr. A was naturally worried, but he couldn't really do anything because the power behind these returnees were very big. It was not like they have big backing or not, but the power in the hands of these returnees were more than enough to destroy cities. They were basically restraining each other through various means and achieved a delicate balance. But right now, Dina seemed to be testing the higher-ups' bottom line through this incident. It was really a worrying person. I hope that the other returnees will not repeat the same action as her. If these returns kept on jumping around in front of him, then Mr. A couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't do anything to them. For them, these returnees were truly double-edged sword. And there were a lot of returnee in their country that they have to watch for. It was really tiring. The good thing is that Samuel is a businessman and the Runemaster is also not a person who likes to make trouble on purpose. Peter is firmly held in the Martial Arts Association and enough negotiation is established for the others. It might not be very stable yet, but it should be enough to restrain them. Only Dina. She's the only one who didn't seem to have much restraint when she made a move, and if it was not because she also wanted to deal with those magic beasts, she might have long pointed her sword towards them. Truly a terrible woman. Did something happen? Mr. Jones asked with worry. If there were any problem nearby, then he would have to exert his effort to deal with it as soon as possible so as not to affect the lives of the people in City A base. There's a magic beast tied in City M. Right now, everyone is trying their best to curb HT magic beasts there, but the situation is not very optimistic. City M. Isn't it by the coast? Mr. Jones frowned when he heard this. If it was by the coast, the magic beasts they encountered could possibly be the sea-type magic beasts. Yes, there are a lot of magic beasts coming out of the sea. Mr. Jones froze. Magic beasts coming out of the sea. It was quite terrifying. Do you need Samuel's help? No, for the time being, the personnels there are enough. If we do need help in the future, we'll contact you. Mr. Jones nodded. Though, considering that Samuel is currently still in the crack, it was unlikely for him to be able to come back so quickly. Mr. A also knew this. Samuel is only one person and it was impossible to let him go whenever they have problem. They also had to cultivate enough force to be able to deal with this matter. Thankfully, they also have elites stationed by the coast. If things come to the worst, they would use nuclear weapon to deal with these magic beasts. The problem of whether the radiation would create even terrifying magic beasts was a problem that they could only consider later. They could only do whatever they could and made sure that the situation is under their control. Of course, if it is possible to ask for Samuel and the others' help, then it would be better to call them for help. There was simply nothing else that they could do. Your focus should be City A base. Other things can be left to others to deal with. Everyone nodded when they heard that. After talking a bit more, Mr. Jones ended the call and sighed deeply. He looked at Reuben, who was waiting for him on the side. There's still no news from Samuel? He should be still within the crack and there's no signal there. Reuben also felt helpless about this. Even if they wanted to talk with Samuel, they had to ensure that there was connection where Samuel is located. But he's inside that damn crack. Their equipment hadn't been set up yet. It also took a long time to set up the equipment there because of various reasons. Thinking about it alone gave Mr. Jones headache. Let's not talk about that brat for the time being. Did Samuel left? Knock. Knock. Master, there's a fight in the research institute. They're now asking for you to come and help mediate. Mr. Jones was stumped. Why are there so many problems in City A base? Research Institute. After the people from the Research Institute in Continent Z capital city came to City A base, they didn't leave and was given a place to conduct their research here. For this matter, some of them were dissatisfied because the equipment was not as complete as the one in Continent Z's capital city. But the rest were felt that it was acceptable. Anyway, it didn't really matter where they were as long as they could do their research. But it was also because of that there were a lot of conflicts.